Hi again. I do enjoy these little conversations, though one-sided as they are. I suppose by now you're wondering just who exactly I am. To some, I'm the stuttering simpleton if Felix Gilmore. But that's a mask. We all wear masks from time to time. Given the time to analyze an individual allows an insight into the mask they wear. To understand me, you need to understand the other masks of persona. How I see people specifically. It's not as simplified as you may think. I'm gonna start here with you. Now ladies, listen. Forgive the profanity, but I'm going to let you in on a little something here regarding men. They all want to fuck you. Every single one of them. If you're friends, they want to fuck you. If they don't know you, they still want to fuck you. They wear a mask so to not objectify you, because they want to fuck you. They pretend to like you. They laugh at your terrible jokes, let you cry on their shoulders, all because they want to fuck you. They will buy you expensive things, say they love you, let you win arguments, admitting they are wrong even when they're not, all for the simple reason of fucking you. And they want to fuck as many of you as they can, regardless of marriage. It's simply outside their nature for any man to want only one of you. That is an indoctrinated ideal that does not exist in our genetic code. Monogamy was programmed into men by society for the sheer progress of society itself, to preserve the social structure. Men are told to be gentlemen, you see. Do I even need to explain the sheer weakness of exploiting this? Oh, and as for women themselves, well, every woman has an internal bitch in her. Every single one has the ability to turn cold-hearted, shoot first and take no prisoners, no questions asked, obnoxious and vindictive, full-on total bitch. Even if this isn't their everyday persona, they can switch like that. It's a survival mechanism in a world dominated by men. Think of it in terms of a small, frail snake. Now, physically, this snake isn't going to be able to match a larger creature, but this snake has venom, deadly venom. It's an equalizer. Now, women who use this bitch power on an everyday basis do so to gain notice or attention. It's empowering for them when you surrender to the whim. It's only natural. You really have to let them just get it all out. If they feel in control, are they really? Now, both man and woman have their genetic code, but once you get past that, you need to look beyond, into the mentality, into my domain. I'd like to take you there, if you don't mind. We'll start with the obnoxious people. Now, obnoxious people are easy to identify right off the bat by their boorish persona. They are the first to talk, often loud and boisterous. The louder they are, the more they believe they hide the lonely, defeated, insecure little person deep within. Loud people are often weak. In animal terms, some creatures will alter their physiology to appear bigger or louder to scare off predators. So, an obnoxious person is really just a coward. Call their bluff and watch their whole world crumble around them as they struggle to become the thing that they've created. They need to be this fantasy, so much so that reality itself is an unbearable weight. When they're seen as the fantasy, they're secure. But when seen as the lie, revealed, it's simply suffocating. Now, religious people, that's an interesting mask. They often try to hide what they consider sins, and generally they're not very intelligent, but will articulate themselves in a way to make you believe otherwise. They're very black and white, believing this is the way of the world, that right and wrong, good and evil are simple terms. The mysticism of religion is used by these people to hide this glaring fact that they are simply without a clue. It's an easy approach, as religion doesn't particularly bind itself to the laws of logic. It can be taken, spun, and twisted into many interpretations depending on the individual. They'll study these religious texts and sport the brand of the faith like a badge of honor, a way to compensate for the very naughty things they might have done during their development. I love working with these people, throwing the difficult questions their way as they squirm to come up with answers, realizing their rules don't apply to everything. It's so fun to break them. If you can break someone of faith, there's an interesting question that I imagine they ask themselves. What's the point of life if there's no afterlife? They focused on it so long, and suddenly it's been taken away. You've changed their entire world. Now, there's the beautiful people, and I use this term loosely as it's purely physical. They're aware of how they appear, and with that comes an arrogance that deludes them into believing they need nothing more than their appearance to get by. They're used to getting what they want, you see, as good looks tends to get good results, but as a result of this, they tend to not really develop any other traits, and they become stupid. I like to practice saying the word no around these people. You'll find them questioning everything to come up with an answer they simply do not understand. I mean, God forbid they think they're ugly. I mean, that little thought alone can undo them. Now there's the legal man. Those who put a lot of faith in laws. Using these rules are the power in their discussion as a means to defend themselves. Yet behind the evidence, you'll find they are simply incapable of independent thought. These are the people who pursue career paths like your policeman or your military man, that sort of thing. You see, they are terrified of people who hold a higher intelligence, and this is because those who are smarter will challenge them to think outside the little rules, think outside the box even. Doing this to them simply shatters their comfort zone. A lot of the religious people, as I've mentioned, they often fall subject to this too. You see, being this dependent means they'll need other intelligent people to make their rules for them, and without such, they're simply hopeless. They're the followers, the sheep. Tell them what to do and merely lead the way. Oh, and I'm sure you're interested with this term as a personality, the introvert, the shy and the sheltered among us, the quiet one. We are often told to watch out for these people, and that is because this shyness, it's a mask to hide the fact they're really just freaks. But they have the capacity to be loud, wild animals, but they're uncomfortable exposing this to just anyone. It's a way of hiding the taboo in them whilst they filter out who they can or cannot trust, whilst deep down they're really just dying to be dirty, filthy whores. They take time to crack, usually, but drugs, I do find they tend to help. Now, the mask of a fanatic. A fanatic is one of the easiest masks to identify. These people are in a constant search for those around whom they idolize. They are your Barbie dolls without the body to pull off the makeup. It's like a fat whore, basically. They're the teens dressed in black with the makeup mirroring their music icons. They're the white rappers out there with the baggy trousers hanging around their ankles, but they don't have the recognition of the street. They could be that little kid in school who follows the bully around. You know, the one that repeats everything the bully says. Could be that guy in the office in a work environment who's always seen kissing his boss's ass, trying to impress him. All these people, they fit so many categories, and they'll all, every one of them, they will sacrifice their own individuality to be something that they're not. There's no self-worth there. They define themselves through the eyes of someone else, when they're really only loyal for a source of uplifting and justification. It's the most blatant form of insecurity I can even think of. You can utterly destroy these people by calling them exactly what they are, a want-to-be. You can turn these little lapdogs against their idols by telling them exactly what their heroes think of them. You can plant little seeds of doubt and watch as this little fanatic jumps to someone else, causing turmoil within the initial bonding. When something as personal as betrayal comes to mind, the possibilities of chaos are quite extensive. Oh, and the passive-aggressive. You'll be familiar with these kinds of people. These are the people who are cowards, but they want to fight. It's an odd term, yes, but when they want to express their disapproval over some insignificant pet peeve, they'll more often than not leave you little comments here or there in an expression of disagreement. Person-to-person confrontation isn't something they're very good with, yet they desire to fight. They wish they were stronger, more powerful, yet can easily scare. So they'll use other means to combat what they perceive as opponents, evasive means, which is why you'll often encounter them being politically correct, yet agonizingly polite as they do so. It's as if you have to absolutely respect their little boundaries and not become confrontational, as if this is a law you are bound to. But when you yourself are equally passive-aggressive, you can drive them to insanity. You can rob them of their power enjoyably, even. I mean, the retort will be an accusation of childishness, from them, but if you remind them who started it to begin with, can start spinning little cogs in their minds. Maddening, even. Now, you'll be interested or familiar with the term cynical. Now, the cynic is interesting. These people often use sarcasm or strong language regarding anything and everything. They appear strong, but if you pry enough, you'll find they're often very lonely, sad people. To hide this, they'll remove the emotional value in everything with undermining language in a vain attempt to create more of their own kind. It's so they're not alone. They need others to be the same as them, but if you are persistent in making them feel what they have to say is insignificant, don't be surprised if you find them hanging by their necks with a rope. Now the comic. That person always making other people laugh. You know they're only really doing it to hide their insecurity. It's a redirection from this, you see, however minor it may be. By being humorous, they distract people from their own flaws. It can be easier to note when they go overboard, adding humor to a situation that's often inappropriate. If you can turn the focus away from the joke and onto them, however, you can shatter their confidence, causing an imposition under the weight of centered attention. It causes them to doubt themselves. Simply make fun of them and see how they can handle it. It's only a joke, right? Now the know-it-all. We've all seen those. They're often seen as intelligent, but once you peel away the layers of trivia that they mask themselves around, you'll find the attention-craving liar underneath. Their knowledge of a lot of irrelevant facts is brutalized in a way to gain attention from those around them. It's effective if the individual they're speaking to doesn't know much him or herself. I mean, knowing all this information and blatantly stating it as fact often encourages a step further. Lying. Or making up facts on a whim. This doesn't really scare these people, as their listeners are often ill-educated on the subject at hand to begin with. It's a desperate attempt to rake in respect. That is, until, of course, they meet the person to call their bluff. So you do this, and the mask comes off revealing a coward, their one strand of self-confidence in their fabrications being desecrated. So keep calling them a liar. You don't even need to prove that you know otherwise. That's not the point, you see. The point is, their own shame and guilt will internally crush them. Look for the little twinkle in their eye, and you'll feel it as you crush their spirit. They'll retract into their shell, squirming and muttering nervously as a way to cover up what's just occurred. The trick to this is, and I must emphasize, doing so publicly. Now there's the proud and the boastful. These people, the proud and the boastful, they require a similar approach. These people are the ones who brag about anything and everything. They are often so used to boasting that it's instinctive, making up false tales to cover up the failures in their existence. It's just pitiful. But if you call their bluff openly, that you are aware they are in fact lying, they'll retract into their shells, squirming and muttering nervously as a way to cover up what's just occurred. The trick to this is, of course, doing so publicly. I mean, what's the point of doing so in private when you know they'll fabricate the truth to the tale anyway? Remove the fantasy, and reality will tear their sanity apart. There's the exaggerating bureaucrat. Now, this became more common in modern society, with people overcomplicating things. They're a little difficult to explain, so bear with me. These are the insignificant people clawing for self-worth by causing issue when none is required. They're drama whores, basically. Now, the insecurity in their accomplishments is blatant by their focus on irrelevant things. Change, you see, scares these people. They are a lot like the legal man in that regard. But unlike him, they'll instead try to hide the truth itself out of some jealousy or fear. Do I even need to explain that exposing this robs them of their power? They expect you to show them respect as if it's deserved. Deny them and add to the insecurity until they are utterly powerless. Now, we're all a little judgmental, but some people take it to another level as a way to mask the laziness in their approach. And these people will sum anything up with very minor information, yet if you prove them wrong, they will fall upon you like a cloak, seeking to strengthen them. They're very easy to befriend with that regard, actually. They're often a subject of offense before defense. But how do you even make an attack if you don't know your target? They only really know themselves. I like to use that to my advantage, exposing the points they missed as their embarrassment leaves them open and vulnerable without so much as rebuttal. Just let them voice their thoughts first. That's really all that needs to be done for you to dissect them internally and manipulate them to your own means. With these people, a term comes to mind. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer still. Now, moving on, I've came across the need to be successful people. You'll remember them. They're the high rollers. Big car, big house, fancy clothes. Would it surprise you if I told you that they often don't have anything else? You see, these people have borrowed and borrowed from loan after loan, from bank to bank, to keep up the appearance of grandeur. They need to feel and appear superior. It's a sickness, really. For whilst they walk in the robes of kings, their piggy bank is a pauper buttons. Now, I've encountered a few of these back in the day before the outbreak. You'll be amazed to find how far they go to appear better than you. I tested this once. I rented out a car. It was a big car and it was quite expensive. It was a more expensive car than this subject's, of course. And I told him it was mine. As I predicted, the following week there he was with this obscenely expensive SUV. The experiment carried on for quite some time afterwards, with bottled gold watches, rented suits, tales of vacations abroad that never were. Eventually he hung himself. Financial ruin will do that to a person. This need to keep up appearances, while digging a hole into your means of maintenance. What happens when you can't borrow any more money? What must his mind have done to him? That he'd be found out. Tut, tut, tut. Now, there's the politically correct. Most people hate this person when exposed, but doing so is a challenge all on its own. They're dangerous manipulators who can create nonsense to subdue the power of the spoken word. These diplomatic approaches can often woo the listener to achieve their motive. Ulterior motives, might I add. I mean, think about it. Have you ever wondered where the term African American, or Mexican American, or even Asian American come from? All these ethnicities given such focus. I mean, without them, what would happen? Could it be the different ethnic groups would tear their land apart with the slightest scent of racial insult? Oh, and it's not about race so much as the groupings. I must emphasize that. It's about the groupings, or a means to damage someone for saying something against this group. That's the whole point of it. Sexuality got the same flack, gone to an excessive level to maintain control of these people. Look at how the world changed regarding homophobia, for instance. But those subjects are irrelevant. They're really just there as an example. But here's the point. If you are losing the debate, why not just call out racism or sexism? There's a lot of isms. People tend to respond to this, so it's a powerful tool to shut the less informed down. They put such focus on equality, but at the same time foolishly separate people into little groups. Expose that! Their accusations turned around upon them. Oh, they become the thing they hate without a means of argument. Here's a little example, Mr. Politician. I want a straight pride parade. What? Why can't I have that? Is there something wrong with being straight? Oh. So by saying no, you're implying that gay pride parades are wrong. Or do they just get special treatment? Then why are you campaigning for such then? You see, all these different viewpoints that people have is easy to abuse. The fact that you really can't please every one of them. And that people naturally are conflicting. Now here's an interesting mask. The actor. These people, I kind of respect them. Because they can overreact. And as such are the most deceptive amongst us. They are extremely dangerous, as they can simply call upon emotions on cue to gain attention, namely the center of it. They're used to manipulating people to get their way, to take them seriously, and to bend the world around them. But what if you simply ignore them? To deny them this attention they desire, well, it can drag their true self to the surface. To remove the mask, if you will. Desperation will do that to people. Now, there are masks which are difficult, even for me. Take the intellectual, for example. They can tend to be shy, hiding this with their intelligence. They draw on this power to draw awe from others in order to bring them comfort. Yet they are terrified of failure to the point it is obsessive. You'll very rarely see them take any sort of risk, preferring to let someone else make any initiation than take the front themselves. Confronting these people, it's a battle of the mind, where you must guide the subject away from rhetorical questions, which they will of course use as a way to confuse you. Always pull it back to the point at hand. Don't get sidetracked, for you see, if they end up asking questions they are otherwise not willing to answer themselves, you have them. By throwing random trivia and relevant questions, it's a tactic they'll use to install awe in an opponent, so that they can escape with their intellectual trickery intact. They must be made to feel like they have failed. Keep in mind though, those with a thinking capacity can be quite dangerous. And of course, as a final categorization, I must bring to light those that you consider your friends. Friends only exist because you can do something for them, or they can do something for you. It's a matter of exchange or currency, and the minute your value fades, so does the friendship. Even during the long, hard times where they've stuck by you, they're only really there to make themselves feel like good people. Nobody does anything for free, you see, and even if they don't understand that themselves, there's still an exchange. Now, with all this in mind, with all these personalities, all these masks, you have to wonder, which one of these masks are you? Maybe you're actually many. You could fit into any of these categories instead of just the one. But understanding them, that allows you to understand the true nature of fear. When you empower yourself with that sort of terror, knowing yourself and others, then you can understand how to overcome fear, or equally cause it. You become a puppeteer of sorts. But back to the very original question. Who am I? Who is Felix Gilmore? Again, that's a little more complicated. You see, all these things, these examples I've laid out before you, they require an emotional link. I don't have that. I'm an abnormality, or if we use the technical term, I'm a psychopath. I understand this, and I embrace it. I can't change myself any more than you can change who you are. And I envy people, and how they behave leaves me with wonder. Sometimes I need reminding that I'm even alive. Reminding that I am human. If I even am, that is. You see, I can't seem to care about much of anything, and when I do, it's rather light. Most people tend to disapprove of, like, disgusting things, for instance. I have a tolerance to this. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say it intrigues me. It's people's disgust that turns them away from what they may perceive as wrong, and whereas I don't. I do not know shame, guilt, or even embarrassment, quite frankly. Fear, joy, true happiness, I don't know it. I understand the definitions, but beyond that, I do not simply match them. Of course, I do feel pain, and I do feel pleasure, but the build-up to this feeling is absent. I merely know release. That one single moment where I steal the feeling from someone. This is a weakness, but it's one I'm aware of, so I can act accordingly. And have I killed people? Of course I've killed people, sure. Most of them advertently, might I add, yet without so much as a finger laid most of the time, despite a very keen knowledge of human anatomy. I was a psychiatrist, a path chosen to better blend in with society, and those who made my life difficult were otherwise pushed in the right direction, which isn't to say I've not taken a hands-on approach. I've just coaxed them to do it themselves, because you see, there is a risk factor in the hands. I tend to avoid that if at all possible. I've never regretted any of this, and if I have regretted anything, it's only that I was caught, eventually, in the old world, through impatience. But even so, being locked up in the mental facility on that prison island, that only served to release me upon Chernarus, a world completely free of restriction, or any kind of law. This is a place where my kind seems to almost belong. Now I like myself. I really, really do. I don't need gratification or assurance, because really the only opinion that is ever going to matter to me is my own. And as long as I exist, I suppose, welcome to my journey. But I'm not your friend. I'm not even a man. I'm an animal that pretended he was a man. But in this current world, the fantasy is removed and the animal is reality. I'd like to show you all that reality. Toodles.